Okay, so you can go ahead.
All right, so here's the question, true or false? IATA has packaging requirements for exempt human specimens. Is that true or false? So everyone who says it's true, raise your hand. So let me see, true. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So, and then on the other side, we have 1, 2. All right. So how many people say it's false? This is false? Raise your hand if this is false. All right. So the correct answer is true. There are packaging requirements for exempt human specimens. We're going to talk about those packaging requirements today. But yesterday, when we were talking about, if we go back to definitions for exempt patient specimens, in this, it says that if you have a human or animal specimen where there's a minimal likelihood, so very small chance that pathogens are present. So these would be kind of your standard routine diagnostic tests that are not for infectious diseases. So for example, pregnancy tests or cancer biopsies, or maybe you're doing nutritional studies and you don't expect the patient to have any infectious diseases. In that case, those materials, blood, body fluids, tissues, swabs, those patient specimens, as long as they're triple packaged, and we're going to talk about the packaging that's required for exempt patient specimens. We're going to talk about triple packaging today. Then they're marked exempt human specimen, then they can be shipped. So the correct answer here, going back, the correct answer is true. All right, so let's do the next one. So let's do number 2. So true or false, a substance that is suspected of containing a fungal agent that causes disease in animals is an infectious substance according to IATA. So it's regulated for shipping. So number 2, is that a regulated dangerous goods, a regulated infectious substance, category A or category B, for example? True or false? Everyone who says true, go ahead and raise your hand. This is for number 2, true. All right, other side, let me see the other side. True, go ahead, raise your hand. All right, good. So maybe most of you, and then false. Number 1, anyone say false?
False.
Okay, the correct answer is true. This is true. These are considered either category A or category B infectious substances, depending on what the fungal agent is. So if it's a really high-risk fungal agent, maybe something like maybe a mycoides, or maybe a Cryptococcus neoformans, or one of those really high-risk cultures, could be category A. Most fungal agents that are animal pathogens are going to be category B. But if they can cause disease in humans or animals, then it is considered a regulated dangerous good. All right, number 3. So same question. It's a fungal agent again, but this time it causes diseases in plants. So it does not cause disease in humans or animals. It only causes disease in plants. So for example, it could be a rice, a fungal agent that damages rice or corn or something like that, or other plants, but does not affect humans or animals. So is that a dangerous good? Is that a regulated substance for shipping according to IATA? So everyone who say true, any true, raise your hand. All right, false, go ahead, any false? Yeah, so that is correct. The correct answer here would be false. These are, these types of materials could be regulated according to your government. So for example, in the US, plant pathogens are restricted by our Ministry of Agriculture. They have rules for how they have to be transported. They also have permits that have to be obtained in order to be allowed to transport them, but they're not considered dangerous goods according to IATA. And so they're not regulated by IATA, but they may be regulated by other agencies. Okay, so let's look at another one. So same kind of question. True or false, decontaminated. So you've autoclaved some medical waste. True or false, autoclaved medical waste is an infectious substance according to IATA, and it's regulated for shipping. True or false? Everyone who says true, go ahead, raise your hand. Any true? Okay, false, go ahead, raise your hand if it's false. All right, that is correct. This is false is the correct answer. So this would be false. So yeah, if you've treated any infectious substance, if it's been treated, so if it's untreated, if it's not been treated and you want to transport it, then it would be an infectious substance and would require special packaging, marking, and labeling. But if it's been treated and autoclaved, rendered non-infectious, then it is no longer a dangerous good, and there are no packaging, marking, or labeling requirements. All right. So which set of regulations? So we have 5 sets of regulations. We got the WHO regulations, the IATA regulations, the ICAO regulations, and US government regulations. Which set of regulations is the most comprehensive, or the most, I should maybe change the word comprehensive. Let's use the word most restrictive rather than comprehensive. So restrictive. Which of these 4 is the most restrictive set of regulations for shipping purposes? So I'll ask, first of all, who says it is WHO? Anyone say WHO? Anyone? Okay, 0 for WHO. Okay, how about IATA? How many people say IATA? Can you give me a count?
1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7.
7?
Yes.
Okay, and then how many people say ICAO? ICAO?
1, 2, 3, 4. 4.
4. Okay, how many people say US government regulations?
0.
Anyone? US government, how many?
0. Nobody.
0. 0?
Yes.
Okay, so the correct answer is IATA. IATA is the most restrictive. It is the most comprehensive and most restrictive. And because IATA is the most restrictive, IATA is the most universal. And what I mean by universal is that every country and every agency and every airline, every carrier, universal. Okay, there we go. Sorry. So because IATA is recognized as the most comprehensive, the most restrictive, every country, every airline, everyone recognizes IATA as the universal gold standard for shipping purposes. All right.
Please, can you change your marker to red? So that
Yeah, let me change it to red. Sorry. I'm going to thicken it so it's a little easier to see. Okay, so the correct answer is IATA. Is that better?
Yes.
All right, good. Let's do another one. So I have 5 answers here. So which of the following proper shipping names are acceptable? So if you look at these, we have 5 options here. Which of these options is correct? Oh, there's only one correct answer. So I'm going to give you guys a minute to look at these, and then I'm going to ask how many people say A, how many people say B, how many people say C, D, and E, so on. All right. So how many people say A is the correct answer? So I'll have you count and just give me the number. How many people say A?
Nobody.
Nobody. Okay, 0. All right, how about B? How many people say B is correct?
Are you raising your hand? Nobody.
Nobody. Okay. How about C?
Nobody.
Nobody. How about D?
C. Okay. D. 2 people.
2 people. All right. How many people say E?
Coming. Okay. Sorry. D. How many people are for D? If you are in D, 1, 2.
So E. Go for E now.
So how many for E?
For E.
Is blurred.
Yes.
So what should come and
But it counts.
Yes, and that's
okay.
Count for.
Did anyone want to change their answers?
One, no,
counting.
1, 2, 3.
We've changed. One.
5.
No,
Raise your hands. E. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9.
9 for E,
Yes.
2 for D. Do we have anyone for A, B, or C? This is correct. All right. So let's look at the answer. The correct answer is E is the correct answer.
Yeah.
So none of these are acceptable. And let me show you why. So the first one, UN 2814, infectious substance affecting humans, we cannot use the word "and" animal. So you have to take that off. If you take that off, it'd be correct. And then for B, you can't do an abbreviation. Abbreviations are not allowed. And so to correct it, if we replace that with category B, it would be correct. For C, it's just dry ice. It's not solid dry ice. It could be solid carbon dioxide, but not solid dry ice. And then for D, it's not infectious substances category B, it's biological substances category B. So the correct answer would be E. None of them are acceptable. All right, let's try another one. Same question. Which of the following proper shipping names are acceptable? Only one answer is correct. So let me get the count here. So start to count and tell me how many people say A, how many people say B, how many people say C, how many are D, and how many are E?
A. We are for A. A is 0.
0, okay.
B. B. Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. B 12. 13. 13.
13 for B. Okay, all right. Let me try that again. Let me hold on. Write that again. Okay. Whoops. So we had 13 for B. How many for C?
How many for C? C. C. 0.
Nobody?
C. Okay, C 0 is okay.
Okay, how many for D?
For D. D 0.
All right, how many for E?
Only me.
1.
1. All right, let's look at the answer.
Okay, let's look at the answer.
The correct answer would be B. That is an acceptable proper shipping name. So sometimes people ask, if you have the word only, for example, so right here, if we had after, for example, the word only that we see there, that word only is optional. It's not, so right here, this word only, it's optional. It's not required to be part of the proper shipping name. If it's included in the proper shipping name, that is fine. It's acceptable, but it's not required. And so B is correct. All right. Just a note, this comes from IATA section 8.1.3.1. So this is right from the regulations. It says additional descriptive text shown in the like characters in the list of dangerous goods is not part of the proper shipping name, but may be used in addition to the proper shipping name. So the word only, for example, where it says infectious substance affecting animals only, the word only is in light characters, and so it is not a part of the proper shipping name, but it's optional. And then it says minor discrepancies such as the omission of dots, capitalization, and commas in the proper shipping name appearing on the shipper's declaration or on the package marks are not considered as errors if they do not compromise safety. So that is some critical stuff about proper shipping names. So if you want to find proper shipping names, if you go to the WHO guidance document, let me pull that up. Where is my guidance document? I think it's here, yeah. Okay, no. All right, that's not what I wanted to show, just a sec. Where is that? It's on my screen. I was just had it up on my screen. Let me find it again. Ah, there it is. Okay. Let me bring it up now. Okay. All right. That is right here. Okay. So if you look in the WHO guidance document, so this would be page 49. So if you want to turn to page 49 of the WHO guidance document, on there is a summary table. And this table has been reproduced from the IATA regulations. And so this is a reproduction of the IATA regulations. And on this page, it should have the proper shipping name, the UNID number, the class or division, the hazard labels. Does everyone have that? I just want to make sure you have this table. Is that there in your guidance document? Your regulations? So if you want, you can highlight, if you have a highlighter pen, you can highlight some of the key ones we talked about. So for example, biological substance category B. This is an important one we want to look at right here. And then also we have infectious substance affecting humans. This is another important one that we're going to look at. And then we have infectious substance affecting animals only. So these are the three that we spent a lot of time talking about yesterday. And if you notice here, you have, let me bring this. So we have the word only that is right there on infectious substance affecting animals, that word only. You'll notice the word only is in italicized text and it's light letters. And that means it is an optional. It's not actually part of the proper shipping name, but it could be included. You'll also notice the star that comes after the proper shipping name. So any of these proper shipping names that have stars after them, where you see a star, what that means is that the proper shipping name must be supplemented by a technical name, such as, and the technical name comes in brackets after the proper shipping name, and it in that case, it would be the name, the scientific name, genus, and species of the pathogen that you suspect is present in the sample. If there are multiple pathogens, you can put commas, like, for example, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, comma, human immunodeficiency virus. If you suspected both of those pathogens present in the sample, you could list both. All right. A couple other things I want to highlight from this. So for example, if we look at biological substance category B, so we're going to highlight that there. And I want to point out some things that you see here. So we see, for example, here they have, let's see, so we have the UNID number is in column 1. You'll notice that it's always preceded by a capital U, capital N. And then in column 2 is the proper shipping name. Column 3 is the class or division. So we have 6.2, 6.2. So that means 6.2 are infectious substances. Some dangerous goods, for example, we have methanol here. Some dangerous goods actually have 2 classes. So methanol has both a class 3, which is flammable, and a class 6.1, which is a toxic. So methanol is both flammable and toxic dangerous good. And then the next column 4 tells you which hazard label must be included. And we're going to be talking about marking and labeling just a little bit later today. And so, for example, the biological substance category B actually does not have a hazard label. So there's no hazard label for category B. But for UN 2814, infectious substance affecting humans, we use the infectious substance hazard label. So we'll talk about what that hazard label looks like a little bit later today. Then we have column 5. So in column 5, it says PG. PG stands for packing group. And some dangerous goods, instead of category A, category B, they have packing groups. So packing group 1 means very dangerous. Packing group 2 means moderately dangerous. And then packing group 3, it means less dangerous, low danger. So for example, this proper shipping name, aviation regulated liquid, the packing group on this is packing group 3. And then we have ethanol. So for example, we have ethanol, or, so that's one proper shipping name, or ethanol solution is also an acceptable proper shipping name. ethyl alcohol is a proper shipping name, or ethyl alcohol solution. So UN 1170, this dangerous good actually has 4 acceptable proper shipping names. So you could choose any one of those 4 proper shipping names. UN 1845 right here, this is dry ice that has 2 acceptable proper shipping names. You can call it dry ice, that's 1, or carbon dioxide, comma, solid. That is also an acceptable proper shipping name. You'll notice that this is a class 9. So class 9 is a miscellaneous hazard. And then the hazard label that we use for dry ice is the miscellaneous hazard label. We'll be talking about marking and labeling a little later. You'll notice that dry ice, category B infectious substances, and category A infectious substances, you'll notice that there are no packing groups associated with any of these dangerous goods. So for the most part, we can ignore packing groups unless you're shipping, for example, ethanol, in which case there are actually 2 packing groups, a packing group 2 and a packing group 3. So with ethanol, or with almost any alcohol, it always comes in solution with water. And so the more water that is present, so if you had, for example, 95% ethanol, that's going to be highly flammable, and so will be a packing group 2. But if you have, say, 70% ethanol, 30% water, it's going to be less flammable. And so that would probably fall in the packing group 3 categorization. Next, so we have these 4 columns right here. So column 6, 7, 8, and 9. So these 4 columns, let me go back to my annotate because I think let me kind of erase it. All right. So for these 4 columns, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 6 and 7 have to do with cargo aircraft, and 8 and 9 have to go with passenger aircraft. And so what this is column 7 has the quantity limit that is allowed on a cargo aircraft, and column 9 has the quantity limit that is allowed on a passenger aircraft. So for example, if we look at, let's look at UN 2814 infectious substance affecting humans, you'll notice that, sorry, I messed that up. Column 6 and 7 is passenger or cargo, and column 8 and 9 is cargo aircraft only. So for example, we'll notice there is a 50 gram or 50 microliter limit for passenger and cargo, for passenger aircraft. For cargo aircraft only, the limit is 4 liters. So what that means is you can have up to 50 milliliters or 50 grams in a single package, and that would be allowed on a passenger aircraft. But if a single package exceeds 50 milliliters or exceeds 50 grams, then that package would have to be marked cargo aircraft only, and would have to be, it would not be allowed on a passenger airplane. For category A, you are limited maximum quantity of 4 liters or 4 kilograms. So for category B, let's look at that for category B. What are the quantity limits for category B? So it says here for quantity limits, it says C650 right here. Right. And so what that means is, so every dangerous good has a number, it has a name, it has 1 or 2 or 3, sometimes more classes, and it has a packing instruction. So that's column 6 and column 8. So column 6 tells you the packing instruction for passenger aircraft, and column 8 tells you the packing instruction for cargo aircraft only. So for category B, the packing instruction is 650 right here. For category A, the packing instruction is 620. And we notice it's 620 whether it is human or whether it's animal, it's going to be packing instruction 620. That's true for passenger aircraft. It's also true for cargo aircraft only. So passenger and cargo, human or animal, if it's category A, the packing instruction is 620. If it's category B, the packing instruction is 650. So what is the packing instruction for dry ice? Can somebody tell me what is the packing instruction for dry ice? Good, that's right. I heard it. I think somebody shouted it out. 954. So that is the packing instruction for dry ice. If we look at ethanol, so let's say it's ethanol or ethanol solution. Notice it has 4 different packing instructions. And it has 4 different quantity limits. Right here, right here, and right here. And what that is we use packing instruction 353 if it's a high concentrated, highly flammable packing group 2, and it's going on passenger, then it's packing instruction 353. If it's a lower flammability ethanol and it's going on passenger, it's 355. And then if it's highly flammable cargo aircraft only, it's 364. If it's moderately flammable and it's going to be on cargo aircraft only, then it's 366. The last column, column number 10, talks about these special provisions. And there are 2 special provisions that you really need to know about. It's these special provisions A81 and A140. And these special provisions, A81 and A140, they apply to category A infectious substances. And we're going to take a look at those special provisions a little bit later when we talk about packaging and marking and labeling. So we'll come back to A81 and A140. All right, do we have any questions before I move on?
Good question.
All right, so let's go back to our presentation.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yep, go ahead. We have a question?
Please, can you explain to me why there's no packing for infectious substance? Category A and category A.
Sorry. Yeah, it's a little hard for me to hear. So maybe can we type it in the chat?
Okay, you'll write it and I'll type it.
Category A.
Yeah.
Can we put the question in the chat?
Okay. Yeah. It's not only dry eyes. Has no packing.
I'm typing it now.
Okay, thank you. Are we typing the question in the chat?
Yes,
Okay,
I'm almost done.
all right.
Okay, I just sent it.
Oh, very good. So question, why are there no packing groups for category A and B? So packing groups determine how certain material have to be packaged. So we could think packing group 1 is high risk, packing group 2 is moderate risk, and packing group 3 is low risk. Category A is high risk, category B is moderate and low risk. And so for infectious substances, rather than using packing groups, 1, 2, 3, they use categories. So category A is similar to packing group 1, and category B is similar to packing group 2 or 3. But rather than using packing groups for infectious substances, class 6.2, they have opted to go with categories. So categories replace packing groups. So that's why. All right, good question. Any other questions?
Any other question?
Okay, go ahead.
No question.
Oh, no questions. Okay, good. All right, so let's move on. So now we've kind of finished the part on assessment. So now we're going to talk about mitigation. So how do we mitigate risk associated with shipping? So what actions, what control measures can we put into place to eliminate or reduce the risks of shipping biological agents? And we can, most of our risk mitigation is done through packaging, marking and labeling, and documentation. And so that's what we're going to go through over the next little while. So when we talk about mitigating risks, there are several categories of mitigation that we can do. We can use elimination or substitution. We can use engineering controls. We can use administrative controls, and we can use practices and procedures. So anyone who is familiar, so this is what we call the hierarchy of controls. And generally, when we talk about the hierarchy of controls, the things that are towards the top, so elimination, substitution, and engineering controls are generally more effective than administrative controls and practices and procedures for reducing waste. Reducing risk. So there are actually we have 5 categories of mitigation. I've only listed 4. Which one is missing? There's one category of mitigation that I have not included. Can anyone tell me what it is?
PPE.
PPE, very good. So I did not include PPE, so why not? So these are some definitions for the 5 categories. So we have elimination or substitution, which is removing the hazard, not working with the agent, or replacing the hazard with something less dangerous. But why did I not include PPE? So the reason is because PPE are devices worn by the worker to protect against hazards in the laboratory. So once a package is prepared and leaves the laboratory, then it's if the carrier, so the person who's carrying the package, if they are required, or if it's a good idea to wear gloves and a lab coat, or maybe a respirator or mask in order to protect themselves from exposure, that means that there must have been contamination or a risk of contamination on the outside of the package. And so what I say is, if somebody has to wear gloves to safely handle a package, then it's probably not been prepared properly. There should be no risk of contamination on the exterior of the package when it is delivered or handed over to the carrier after it leaves the laboratory. And so we generally, for shipping risks, don't consider PPE as one of those mitigation measures for reducing shipping risk. All right. Obviously, wearing gloves and preparing the package is very important. Wearing gloves and wearing PPE when opening a package is also a good idea. But during the transport operation, the movement from the restricted area outside the restricted area, PPE is not considered a good control measure. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? All right. The other thing I want to mention is about elimination or substitution. And so what that means is, if there are ways that we can eliminate the need to transport or ship infectious substances, we should do our best to try to use that method. So, for example, if we can do site testing, so for example, let's say we wanted to do COVID testing. If we could collect samples and do the COVID testing at the same location where the samples are collected, that is a much safer process than trying to collect the samples in one location, transport them to another location for analysis, because we increase risk during the transport operation. So if we can eliminate the transport operation, do collection and site testing in the same, like collection and diagnostics in the same location, that would eliminate the need for transport. If there was no transport, then there would be no transport risks. And so the first thing when you're looking at before you ship something is ask yourself, do I really need to ship this? Do I really need to transport it? Are there ways that I can not have to do the transport at all? The other is substitution. So when we think about substitution, do you need to ship a liter of the agent, or could we ship just a very small amount? Rather than liquids, if we, rather than say ship a broth culture, if we shipped an agar stab, for example, just a small thin, small tube with agar in it, and do a little stab instead of say a large liquid broth culture, the agar stab is going to be much lower risk than say a large liquid shipment. And so always the first mitigation measure you should think of is, do I really need to ship this? Can I do something to on site so I don't have to ship it? Or for example, let's say I was going to do PCR on some samples. Could I do the RNA or DNA extraction at the collection site and then just transport the RNA? Because if I just transported the RNA or DNA, it's much lower risk than trying to transport the actual sample itself. Sometimes for quality assurance or other control reasons, you want to transport the whole sample rather than try to do the extraction on site. But those are some things to think about. You know, is there a way, rather than shipping the agent, can I ship the RNA or DNA from it? So that's the first thing. That's the first way we reduce risks. All right, let's talk about the other three processes. So engineering controls, administrative controls, and practices and procedures. Let me divide you into three groups. So let's say group, maybe Abiodun, can you and Easter, sorry, I'm tired. Can you and Easter divide them into three groups? One group come up with a list of engineering controls to reduce shipping risks. One group come up with administrative controls, maybe 2 or 3 administrative controls, and then another group come up with some good practices or procedures that we can follow to reduce risk. So let me give you guys just a few minutes to discuss those, and then I want to collect those answers. So here's the exercise right here. One group work on engineering controls, one group work on administrative controls, one group work on practices and procedures.
So I think this. So this one is one group here. Can you join this here? So this is one group. So we take this one here, engineering control, the administrative control, and practices and procedures. Yes. Practices and procedures.
Okay, I'm going to come back. I'll come back in 3 minutes. I'll give you guys 3 minutes to discuss this, and then I'll have each group report back. Okay, I'm going to ask you to kind of quickly report out. And what I'd like to do is in the chat box, perhaps Bioden, when they give their answers, can you put the lists in the chat box just so I can see them? So let's gather engineering controls. Give me a list of engineering controls. And then give me a list of administrative controls, and then finally a list of practices and procedures. These should all be shipping related engineering controls, shipping related administrative controls, and shipping related practices and procedures. So Easter and Abiodun, can you collect those and then put them in the chat box for me?
Packaging, triple packaging, okay.
So what is this is procedures.
I'm typing in the chat box. Absorbent what? Absorbent what? Materials or?
So go ahead and put them in the chat box. Engineering controls first, administrative controls second, and then practices and procedures third.
In fixed container. Fixed container. Then avoidance of glass containers. Then the package should be sealed. Okay, you have engineering control.
Okay, good, good. Packaging, triple packaging, good. Use of absorbent, good. Fixed container, very good. Avoid use of glass container, good. And the package should be sealed. Okay, I like that. Those, you know, when we talk about engineering controls, it's all about the packaging and the packaging components, the primary, watertight secondary, the absorbent, the plastic instead of glass, all of that. Very good. So let's look at administrative controls.
Is it practice or practices? Packages, proper packaging and labeling. Train personnel. Is it
Good.
Documentation. Certification and hello?
Certification and authorization. Monitoring.
All right, do we have, are you typing up the administrative controls?
I'm typing out practices and procedure. You'll
Okay,
get that.
all right, and then
Right.
get the administrative, good, I got practices and procedures, okay, and then let's get, the, administrative controls next.
Type in the administrative controls here now.
Okay, good. Sounds like you guys came up with a good list on practices and procedures following appropriate packaging and labeling SOPs. So one question I have, I'm gonna add a little bit to following SOPs. Okay, and then train personnel. Good. All right, just waiting for the typed out administrative, and then I'll put all of your answers onto a slide, and then we'll take a look at that slide together as a group. So I've put on this slide, I've added your what your each team came up with. So this was the practices and procedures team right here. Here's the engineering control team, and so just waiting on.
I also sent the administrative controls.
Okay, good. Let me add those. All right. Copy. All right, let's sure she's out a bit. Okay, a lot. So this team came up with a lot actually. Let's see, I'm gonna have to shrink the size down. There we go. So we can talk about these. Give it all right. So let me bring this up. Okay. So let's talk about some of these. So for engineering controls, when we talk about engineering controls, you know, it's all about the packaging. It's all about the absorbent, using like solid rigid containers, and so on. And then for administrative controls, so think about what type of policies you have at your institution related to shipping. So policies, SOPs, like written SOPs, training. So you'll notice like training goes to both practices and procedures and goes to administrative controls. And then SOPs. So SOPs, written SOPs are administrative controls, but are people actually following the SOPs? That would be more of a practice and procedure. So very good. Doing internal audits using checklists. These are all good practices. They're also good at administrative controls. Having an emergency response team, appointing a safety officer, appointing somebody, the authorizations and stuff that come. So when we talk about authorization, this is an important process. We're going to talk about this later on this afternoon, actually, after lunch. All right. Any questions or comments on this before we go on? So I think you guys came up with a good list of appropriate practices and procedures. We're going to talk about a few more practices and procedures next, actually, when we talk about step 4. But for now, we're going to look at step 3. So step 3 is selecting the proper packaging. And I want to come up with just emphasize a few key definitions. So when it comes to shipping, both in the regulations and in how I teach and train, there are 3 kind of words that have similar sounds but have different meanings. So for example, when I say packaging, so packaging are the components or parts of a package. And so the bubble wrap is packaging, the primary packaging, secondary packaging. We have inner packaging and outer packaging. The box, the bag, the container, the test tube, those are all packaging. So packaging refers to the components. The package is the complete assembled product. And we're going to talk about, in just a little bit, we're going to talk about something called UN test standards. So there are certain requirements for category A packages that must be tested and certified to meet impact, drop testing, pressure testing, absorbent testing, and all kinds of, there are a series of tests that come out of the United Nations that packages must meet in order to become what are called UN specified packaging. We're going to talk about that in just a bit. And then packing. So packing is the verb. It is the action. It's the doing. So it's putting the components together, assembling the package. We call that packing. All right. So I want to give just a quick overview of packaging. So what we mean by packaging in this case is an overview of the components that go in a package. And when we talk about a package for shipping infectious substances or almost any biological material, so it includes category A, category B, and also exempt materials, we want to make sure that these materials are in what we call triple packaging. So this is a description of triple packaging. So these are the components that are necessary to qualify something as a triple package. So essentially 3 layers. You have a watertight primary, a watertight secondary, and an outer packaging. So those 3 layers constitute the triple package, but it's more than just the 3 layers. In order to meet the definition of a triple package, you have to have a leak-proof primary, a leak-proof secondary, and an outer packaging, so a 3rd layer that is sufficient to protect the inner packaging, so the primary and secondary, from damage. And another part of triple packaging is ensuring that you have absorbent material, sufficient absorbent. And it's important to note that the absorbent, right here we have the absorbent, it's this thing that's wrapped around the primary. So the absorbent, you have to have sufficient absorbent to absorb all of the liquid. All right, so this is your basic triple package. So when it comes to packing instructions, we're going to look at IATA Packing Instruction 620. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to ask you to open up your WHO guidance document. So open up your WHO guidance document, and we are going to look at page number 40. Let's see, it's going to be 43. So it's going to be in annex number 4. So if you look in annex 4, so this is towards the back, we're looking at page number 43. And this is the packing instructions that we have for infectious substances and also dry ice. So we're going to look at 3 packing instructions. We're going to look at packing instruction 620. We're going to look at packing instruction 650, and we're going to look at packing instruction 954. So these are the three key packing instructions that we need to be aware of when shipping infectious substances. So on page 43, this is where packing instruction 620 begins. And packing instruction 620 goes through page 43 onto page 44. So this lists all of the requirements for, and if you look at the top and we highlight this, it says this instruction applies to UN 2814 and UN 2900. So packing instruction 620 applies to category A, infectious substance affecting humans, that's UN 2814, and category A, infectious substances affecting animals, that's UN 2900. And so this packing instruction describes requirements for category A, that's 620. Then we look at packing instruction 650, that's this one here. So this is the packing instruction that is required for, it says this packing instruction applies to UN 3373. So that is biological substance category B. So this is going to tell you all of the requirements for category B packaging, and you'll notice that packing instruction 650 goes from page 44, goes to 45, and finishes up on page 46. We also have packing instruction 621, which this applies to UN 3291. So UN 3291 is the packing instruction for clinical and medical waste. And then we have packing instruction 954 right here, which applies to, if we look at this, this is for passenger cargo aircraft for UN 1845. So UN 1845, that is dry ice. And so this is the packing instruction for dry ice. So what I want you to do is take a look at those pages, and I'm just going to highlight the key and most important information that comes out of those packing instructions. So what it describes in packing instruction 620 are these are the critical kind of elements that are described in packing instruction 620. So first of all, it has to be in good condition. It should present no hazard. So that means there should be no contamination on the external surface of the outer packaging. So it has to be free from any contamination, has to be in good condition. That means if it's damaged, or if it's stained, or if there are torn or parts of it that look like it, or maybe some of the tape is missing or something like that. If it's not in good condition, it is not acceptable for transport. Then you have to have a leak-proof primary and a leak-proof secondary. So 2 layers, a primary and a secondary, both layers must be leak-proof. Then it talks about a pressure-capable primary or secondary, and it mentions a pressure, an internal pressure of 95 kilopascals. So what that means is that either the primary or the secondary has to hold at least 13 pounds per square inch of pressure without any leakage. And the reason for that is in an aircraft, as the airplane goes up, the pressure outside drops. And what can happen is pressure will build up inside sealed containers. So because your primary and secondary are sealed, pressure will start to build up inside those. And if there's any leakage, if they're not able to contain the pressure, then those containers will leak and spread infectious material, perhaps even infectious aerosols, into the surrounding atmosphere, and that can be recirculated throughout the airplane. And so the pressure capable primary or secondary is critically important for air shipments. It talks about absorbent. The absorbent goes between the primary and secondary, and usually the absorbent is wrapped around the primary. And that is because if you have multiple primaries, so if you have two or more primaries, each primary has to be individually wrapped. They have to be separated so that there's no contact between them, so that they don't bang against each other and perhaps break. And so primaries have to be wrapped individually. It talks about an itemized list of contents. So the itemized list, that means a list of all the primaries. This itemized list must be enclosed between the secondary packaging and the outer packaging. The next thing is you need to have a rigid outer packaging. You have a limit, a size limit of 4 inches. 4 inches is also equivalent to 100 millimeters or 10 centimeters. And so the smallest external dimension that is allowed for a category A package is 100 millimeters. Small packages are anything smaller than 4 inches is risk of getting lost. They get damaged. Small packages get crushed. And also on small packages, it's very difficult to include all the marks and labels and other information that is required. And so they have a size limit of 4 inches. Quantity limits, just a reminder, you're limited to 50 milliliters or 50 grams for passenger aircraft and up to 4 liters or 4 kilograms for cargo aircraft. And then it talks about the name and telephone number of a person responsible must be marked on the outside of the package. So one of the things I want to mention about the name and telephone number of a person responsible, this is could be a 24-hour emergency number, but it's not. It's not required to be 24 hours. It just has to be the name, so a person's name and telephone number of who is responsible for the package. So if the package is damaged in transit or lost, or something lost and then found by someone, there's a name of a person on the outside of the package that we can call and contact for those situations. Now, later, when we talk about documentation, we're going to talk about the shipper's declaration for dangerous goods. You're required to have on the shipper's declaration a 24-hour emergency response telephone number. So the 24-hour emergency number, that goes on the paperwork. It could be the same, but not necessarily. But on the package marking on the outside, you must have the name and telephone number of a person responsible. And then finally, and this is, I've highlighted this last one in red here. This is the major difference between category A packaging and category B packaging. The big difference, and this is actually a question on the exam, so make sure you pay attention to this. If I ask you what is the difference between category A packaging and category B packaging, the major difference and the key difference between A and B is this requirement on a category A package. It has this requirement for UN specification. So this is the critical difference between A and B. And this is what UN specification mark looks like. It's what you're looking for is this U and an N in a circle. And so the U is over the N in a circle. And then you'll see the mark 4G class 6.2 and the year of manufacture. So Abiodun, and I'm going to ask you to hold up some packages and kind of pass those around and show people on those packages where the UN specification mark is located. So let's bring up some packages examples and show them where on the package that specification mark can be found. So maybe Easter can do one side and Abiodun, you can show them the other, but show them a package, what it looks like. Do you have any questions on this while Easter and Abiodun is displaying some of the packages, passing them around, showing you the specification mark on the package?
Yes, there's a question. I'm typing it out in the chat.
Okay, perfect. So if you have a question, write it on a note and put it in the chat box. All right, I'm gonna wait for the question to come in. So while we're waiting for the question, I want to just show you a quick kind of like short little video demonstration. Whoops. Oh, I need to clear my annotations. So let's look at this video. So this is a typical category A package. And I want to point out a few things to pay attention to on this category A package. The first thing I want to point out is here is the UN specification mark. It's right there on the package. So that indicates, so that mark indicates that this is acceptable for category A. Some other things I want to notice. So we have the triple package. So here, right here, this is our watertight sealed primary. Right here, this is our watertight secondary. And then the third layer is right here. This is the outer packaging. So there is our triple package. The other thing I want to point out is right here, this is the actual absorbent. It's at the bottom. Such that if the tube did leak, the liquid would run to the bottom from gravity and would be absorbed by the absorbent. So for this one, rather than wrap the tube with absorbent, they've wrapped the tube with bubble wrap. So we see there the bubble wrap that holds the primary in place so it's not shifting and moving around inside the secondary. That's important. What we see here, this paperwork, we'll notice this paperwork actually goes inside the outer packaging. This paperwork, that is your itemized list of contents. And we see in this case, this itemized list of contents happens to be a lab requisition form. So the lab requisition form identifies, you know, where it came from. Sometimes the lab requisition form may have patient information on it. So that, you know, that patient information is kind of sensitive information. That's why it goes inside the package so that the carrier and others don't actually have access to it. And then, so this is the other paperwork that's required for category A. We have an airway bill. We see this paperwork with the red marks on it. That is the shipper's declaration and a few other things. All right, so we're gonna look at that. All right, so the question I see that came in is the name and telephone number on the package. Is it the person receiving the package or the person sending? Very good question. It could be either. It could be the shipper, it could be the receiver, it could be the person who prepared the package, it could be the person who's maybe it might be the biosafety officer, it could be the lab director, manager, as long as the person's name who's listed knows what the contents of the shipment is and can provide basic information about what the hazards associated with that shipment is. You'll also notice right here, this is where the name and telephone number of the person responsible is listed on this package. All right, are there other questions?
Are there other
So,
questions?
yep, no more questions?
No,
All right, so
quick.
here's another kind of cross section of category A packaging. Here on this category A, we have the itemized list of contents, we have the primary, we have the secondary, we have so here's the primary, here's the secondary, there's the absorbent material, we have our UN specification mark, we have the name and telephone number of a person responsible. So that's your basic category A package. Let's look at category B. So for category B, we're going to look at, we'll go through this a little more quickly, but if you notice for category B, it's pretty much exactly the same as category A. You have good quality packaging, leak-proof primary, leak-proof secondary, you have absorbent, you've got multiple primaries wrapped individually, you still have pressure-capable primary or secondary, you have an itemized list, you've got a rigid outer packaging. Here you're going to have a few differences. So we know with category B, with category A, all dimensions, so all three sides, height, width, length, all diameters in a category A package, the minimum is 4 inches. But for category B, only two sides have to be 4 inches. So you could have a narrow package as long as it was 4 inches in width, 4 inches in length. It could only be, say, 1 inch in height. So that's one minor difference between A and B. But really, and we still need the name and telephone number of the person responsible. There's also some quantity limits differences. So for example, for category A, the quantity limit is 50 milliliters, right? That's for A. But for category B, it's not 50 milliliters. For category B, it is 4 liters. And for category B, so packing instruction 650, that 4 liters is the same for passenger and cargo. So there's no difference really between passenger and cargo requirements for category B, but for category A, they have a 50 milliliter limit for cargo, and then that 4 liter limit for passenger, and then the 4 liter limit for cargo. The real key difference, the major difference between A and B is found right here. So for a category B package, there are no specification marks required. So Abiodun, can you show them a package in that kit that would be appropriate for category B, but would not be appropriate for category A? So one that might meet category B requirements, but does not have a specification mark.
Okay, you have this on display here. What is this?
That's category A.
Which category? Yeah. You want ISIS? Yes. You want this one is B. No mark. Eric, I listed this.
Yeah. So do you have a category B? Do you have a package in the kit that does not have specification marks?
Yeah.
That one has specification. That one can be used for category A. I want a note. So there should be one box that has the words rush on it. It's like an insulated package. So see if you can find the insulated package that has the word rush on it.
Come again. Will you please come again?
So there should be a box. It's about maybe 8 inches, 10 inches in width, about 6 inches in height. And it says it has the word rush on it. And it's a insulated, like a cool box.
We have that one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so that cool box, that one actually has a specification mark on it. So that one has the specification mark. You can show them. It's on the back. So turn it around. It actually has 2 specification marks down at the bottom. You see those? Good. There should be another. Is there another cool box, another insulated package in the kit?
Yeah.
There you go. So that one, you'll notice that cool box does not have any specification marks on it. So that particular cool box, that one could be used for category B, but it would not be appropriate for category A because it does not have specification marks. So one of the things it does say about category B is it does not require specification marks, but it must be capable of passing a drop test, but the drop test height is 1.2 meters. So the drop test height for a category A, so if we go back to category A, category A's do have to have a drop test, and but for category A, the drop test height is 9 meters. So let me stop sharing, and I'm going to show you. Let's see if I can bring this up. All right, hold on. I want to show you some videos of doing some drop tests that so one of the things we did at Sandia is we are working to develop a container, a package actually that can be built and used in Nigeria or other countries, because those packages, you'll notice those packages that have the UN specification mark, those packages are very expensive. And in fact, if you wanted to purchase one of those, they would probably be about $50 US each. So one package would cost $50 US, could be very expensive. And so we are working to develop a package that meets all of the UN test requirements, but can be built using material found at any marketplace in Nigeria. And so let me see. So let me share just a quick some videos of some of the testing and work that we have been doing here at Sandia. Let's see, where's my share screen? Come on. There it is. Okay. All right. So let's see. So what we've done is we've created this kind of secondary. So what this is it's made with PVC pipe. So you use like say a 3-inch diameter PVC pipe, and then you can wrap your test tubes up. So these are examples of say vacutainers that are wrapped in. So you can see here, right here, we have our, this is our PVC pipe right here. So here you can see the PVC pipe, and we've used just standard enclosures. And then inside that PVC pipe, we have placed our test tubes, and each test tube is wrapped with, say, a gauze absorbent, so they're not so they're separated. They are packed with enough absorbent and padding so that they can't move and shift around. So there's enough absorbent in there. And then what we've done is we have used just paper towels. You can see paper towels right here surrounding the outside. That is to hold the PVC pipe inside. And for our outer packaging, so this would be the PVC pipe would be our secondary. And then for our outer packaging, we're using a paint can. And the reason why we like to use paint cans is because they can be easily disinfected. You can usually find these types of paint cans in the market. They can be reused over and over again, and they have a nice tight seal. They're well sealed, and so this is essentially our package design right here. So I can, let's see. Let's see, let me. So what we've done, this is a video I'm waiting to kind of load. All right, well, let's just go to the next one. So this is working with the team at Sandia. We actually have a test lab that does package testing. And so this is our team that did the package testing. And so this was the laboratory. It's out in the desert. This was so what we see here is the drop tower. So this is where we're doing our okay. So this is our drop tower here, and so the package gets placed on that. This gets raised up to a height of 9 meters, and so I'm going to show you what that looks like. So here we are. Getting set to do our drop testing. So here they've affixed the package to our little drop thing, and so it gets raised up. So here let's see, I think it's just taking a while for this to load. So essentially, you pull the rope. You see this rope right here, and so when you pull the rope, it releases the package. The package drops and it hits onto the surface right there, and then it falls 9 meters, and then we do that drop several times. I don't know why it's taking so long to load this. But then after the drop, you can see we opened up the package. You'll notice that the package actually got crushed. When we did that drop, it actually broke. But even though the package itself broke after a 9 meter drop, we had when we opened it up, you'll notice, so here we've opened it up, and you'll notice we have all our primaries. These are glass vacuumtators. We use glass because if you use glass when you do the drop test, we know glass is the most fragile, easy to break. So if you use glass, then this would allow you to use plastic or other things. Now, for actual shipments, we don't really want to use glass, but for package testing, we use the most fragile secondaries. And here is some of the absorbent material, and you'll notice that none of the absorbent had any leakage or spills on it. So some more pictures of the drop test. Maybe it won't allow me to do the video or load the video while we are in the training. So this is kind of what the packages look like after they hit the ground. You'll notice they get pretty deformed after a 30 meter drop. Sorry, not a 30 meter, 9 meter drop. So this is what we use. We use this to measure. You'll notice here. So the height is 30 feet. So that is 29.380 feet. That's how high the package is being dropped from. That is that 30 feet is actually 9 meters, 29.5 feet, something like that. So that my videos are not loading, but here we can see them setting it up. So the other type of test, so besides a drop test, the other type of test you have to do is what's called an impact test. So for an impact test, what you do is you use a heavy metal bar. So you see this metal bar. This bar weighs 15 kilograms. And that 15 kilogram bar has to be dropped onto the package. So it's a crushing test. An impact test has to be dropped from a height of 1 meter. And so this is them setting up the test. So you'll notice they have the right here, they are measuring the height. This distance should be 1 meter. And this is a 15 kilogram bar. It has a rounded blunt tip end. And then you drop it on various surfaces of the outer packaging and you look for any leakage. So this is doing the testing. So I wish my video would load. Maybe during a break, we can get some of these to load. And I could show you when you get back from the break what this test looks like. But essentially what they're going to do is they're going to drop this bar right onto the top and it's going to crush this package. And then after it's crushed, we look for any leakage to any of the secondaries. So this is kind of what the crush looks like. It crushes that lid right down. And then so that's what kind of you can see. It not only crushes the top of the package, but the bottom of the package also gets kind of deformed, which is a good thing actually, because that helps deflect the energy. And so we have to do that drop test, not just on the top and the bottom, but we have to do it on the side as well. And so that is preparing our package for the side impact. So that's what a side impact looks like after the side impact is done. And believe it or not, even after a side impact, our packages are surviving. So this is the place at Sandia where we do our testing. It's the Validation and Qualification Sciences Experimental Complex. And so we have a large test facility to do all these packaging tests. So long story short, let me stop sharing that. Long story short, Sandia has developed a design that meets all of the category A test requirements that you can build your own packages. And I'm hoping to look for some volunteers. So if you're interested, we're looking for volunteers who can actually do some field testing. So actually, we would send you instructions on how to build the package. You would build it and you would use it to ship or transport your infectious substances. And then we have a survey that you would fill out that tells us kind of how you liked using it, whether it worked, how expensive was it? Did it cost very much? Was it very difficult to build? And those kinds of things. All right. So that is kind of a quick review of package testing. All right. So let's look at a category B package. So this is your standard. Let me switch my display settings. Sorry. So here's our standard category B package. So this is what a category B package looks like. And you'll notice category B packaging are almost identical to category A. In fact, category B packaging is essentially the same as category A. What we're missing is that UN specification mark. Notice there's no specification mark. We still have the name and telephone number of a person responsible. That's still there. We still have our primary, our secondary, our outer packaging. We still have our absorbent. We still have, individuals wrapped, primaries wrapped individually. We still have our itemized list of contents. But for a category B package, we only need right here the airway bill. We don't have a shipper's declaration. So there's going to be no shipper's declaration. So that's your category B. There's a little more information on category B here. And then here is your exempt packaging. So exempt packaging, this is your exempt triple package. You'll notice that exempt triple packaging is essentially the same as category A and category B. It's the same kind of triple packaging requirements. Still have absorbent, still have wrapped individually. You still have a watertight primary, watertight secondary. The only difference is you'll notice on the outer packaging, really there's very little marking and labeling requirements. There's no need for the name and telephone number of a person responsible. The only marking on the outside, it's going to be the exempt human specimen or exempt animal specimen as appropriate. And then there's no itemized list of contents. That's not required for a category B. So if you kind of want to look at both, so this is your exempt. If you kind of want to look at these side by side by side, we have our category A, our category B, and our exempt packaging. And this kind of demonstrates the differences in packaging. Packaging for A, B, and exempt are almost identical. It's really the paperwork and the marking and the labeling that is different between the three. All right. Any questions on this?
I'm typing a question in the chat box.
Perfect. Thank you. So while you're typing, or while we're getting that the question in the chat box, I want to say so. The next thing we're going to talk about is packing, and I'm thinking, Abiodun, do we need to take like a 10-minute break? We've been going a long time, and I feel really bad. I know we're going to take our main tea break at. Let me look at my schedule again. So we want to take our main tea break at 11 o'clock, and that's that's almost 11 o'clock. We're almost there, right?
Yeah. So I just sent a question. I'm sending another one.
Okay, so good. So that is a very good question. So why is the UN specification mark missing in a category B package? So let's that is an excellent question. So we notice here for our category A, we notice that it has this specification mark there, but for category B, there is no specification mark. So what does that specification mark mean? Well, essentially, the specification mark, that means that the package has been tested. So the package design has been tested and certified for international UN specification testing requirements. So that's a drop test, an impact test, a pressure test, a leak-proofness test. They actually do a vibration test. They do a stacking test. So there are a bunch of tests that a packaging design must meet. And those tests are very rigorous, and they are make the package itself very expensive. So category B, essentially what they're saying for category B is you don't need to have a very expensive, high cost, certified design. You can create your own design. So category B means that you don't need a certified design as long as your package meets all of those triple component requirements, and it's capable of, it doesn't actually have to pass, but it has to be capable of just a 1.2 meter drop. And so category B, the engineering controls are not quite as rigorous as, say, a category A. So if you're familiar with biosafety levels, we could say consider a package like a category A. We could consider this like a biosafety level 3/biosafety level 4 lab. So this has all the engineering controls. It's all tested and certified. It's validated and approved. Whereas your category B is more like a biosafety level 2 lab. It doesn't have all of the engineering controls, or maybe doesn't have the validation and certification that a category A has, but it's still going to protect you. It's still got a lot of good things that protect you. And then our exempt is kind of like, we could say, a biosafety level 1 lab. And in that case, what it means is for a category B, you can create your own category B package out of a Ziploc bag, maybe a tube, out of a box. So you can create your own category B packages, and it keeps the cost reasonable. It's not very expensive. It doesn't cost a lot to create your own category B package. But for category A, you can't really create your own category A package, because in order to be able to print that certification mark must be printed by the manufacturer, and the manufacturer of the packaging must put the package through all of the testing and you have to have basically a test laboratory. Like Sandia, we have a test laboratory. We can do all the testing here at Sandia, but most places out in Africa probably don't have certification test labs that are able to do all of those testing. And so it can be very difficult to get category A packages in Africa. And I know this because during the Ebola outbreak, I spent 6 months in a laboratory in Sierra Leone. And I know at the beginning, the US government, the European Union, and others donated a lot of these category A packages, a lot of these specification packaging donated to the country, to the Ministry of Health. And however, the problem was you'll notice almost all category A packages that are on the market are made of fiberboard. So they have these fiberboard outer packaging. And what would happen is when a package was received at the Ebola lab, they would bring the package into the Ebola lab to open it, and it would have to be bleached. And so the cardboard box would get bleached, and it would be soaked in bleach for decontamination purposes. And so after just maybe one use, the outer packaging, this fiberboard box, would no longer be in good condition, because the bleach would destroy or weaken the fiberboard. So what ended up happening is these packages were only good for one shipment. Well, when you're shipping hundreds of these every day, it's just, that the cost of the packaging itself is just, it's not sustainable in an outbreak situation. And so what ended up happening is they got rid of the boxes, and in Sierra Leone, they might have the secondary that they can reuse over and over again, but it would just be, they would place the secondary in a bag, and then it would be transported and delivered in a disposable bag. And then the bag would be autoclaved, or it would be incinerated after each use, but they would just reuse bags. Now, that does not meet the category A shipping requirements. So it would not meet the IATA requirements. However, no one was shipping Ebola outside of Sierra Leone. It was just being shipped on the road between hospital collection sites and the test laboratories, or quarantine sites to the test lab. And so it was just transported on the road. It didn't meet the IATA requirements, which would have been required for air shipping. All right, so another question I see in the chat box, it says the UN specification mark can be applied in capital letters or small letters. So the UN specification mark, just so you know, so this UN specification mark that's on the package, that is printed by the manufacturer. So that mark is not printed by the laboratory. It's not something you put on. And there are specific dimensions, specific shape, size, color, and information that goes in that. And so the U and the N, actually, when they print that mark, it's like a big circle, and then in the circle it's like a U that looks like this, and an N that looks like this. So that's how they do the specification mark. So it's not really a capital. So a capital U would look like this. Like a capital U would have that line, so that would be a capital U, and a capital N would have a line, would be more like that. But in the UN specification mark, it's not like that. All right, and that mark, the person who prints that mark, the mark must be printed by the manufacturer, and that mark is a validation mark. It's a certification mark. It says that the manufacturer has done the appropriate testing and of the package design. All right. So that is UN specification. Let's take. We're going to take a half-hour break. We're going to come back at 3:30. When we come back at 3:30, sorry, not 3:30, 3:30 a.m. for me. Sorry, it's going to be 11:30 for you. So we'll break for tea, come back at 11:30. When we come back, I have some more demonstrations, and we're going to talk about step 4, which is packing. So packing is the putting it all together and doing the assembly. So let's take a 30-minute break, and I'll see you guys at 11:30.
Okay, thank you.